Yeah, so like these soils. So I'm just thinking of soil. I was trying to compare it to like something that the soil is like the atmosphere for the ground.
It's another sphere.
What?
You think about it. I know, I knew that was gonna get a reaction, but if you think about it, it's basically, goddamn, it's basically just supporting what exists on in the ground. Like it doesn't. It's like the same. I know it's stupid. Like the same way the atmosphere just supports. Like it does everything. Like it. Gases transfer within each other. Carbon turns into this turns into that. We have rain all over. Like the cycle continues in the atmosphere, and we are able to live on this world because of that cycle. So isn't that just the same for trees? Like it's just on the ground though. Like that's just how I was thinking. Like you can think so. So if we say that like soil is basically like is there a primary purpose for soil itself, or is it mainly just to support other things, to be with other things, to transfer nutrients to other things? Like, is it just an atmosphere? Like that analogy, if you kind of get.
I don't know what you mean by just an atmosphere. Like
so
I feel like that,
basically,
like
like
all
an
the things that
atmos-
you named after saying what's the point of soil, like that is the point.
Yeah.
No, but there's no like primary, like, okay, you know what I mean? Like it's just supporting other things. Like the atmosphere, for example, like it exists to support the ecosystem in the same way that the soil is supporting the trees. I'm saying, is there any direct use for soil apart from that? Like, is there any direct use for soil?
Apart from like growing the vegetation.
Apart from being like an environment, like an atmosphere for the ground, can you use it in any other applications? I don't know, with all these organisms. Sorry.
Okay, yeah. I mean, when you say that the soil is like an atmosphere for the ground, I mean, I see what you mean and where you're coming from there, but it's I mean, we call that like the biosphere, the zone between like the water table and the top of the trees.
Okay,
the critical zone. But it's the intersection, of the atmosphere, of the hydrosphere and the lithosphere, where you have not only like the dirt, the actual rock particles and clay, sand, silt, all those, but you also have spaces of air, spaces with water, pores of water that's in there. So the atmosphere is within the soil too. A lot of this, and there's gas exchange going on in there with the organisms. As far as some of the purposes is that it's, I mean, I like to think big picture, right?
Yeah, let's hear it.
I think that, like if you look at the Earth over time, I mean, before we had soils and everything, biodiversity has steadily increased over time. I mean, there have been mass extinction events, which have dropped down those biodiversity levels. But over time, we've seen this progress of biodiversity increasing. And it's within the soils that the organisms are helping do that with each other. They're building up diverse ecosystems, literally from the ground up. So I think there's a bigger sort of purpose in there, in that they create biodiversity for other life, like their life supporting other life. It's really like a network of life and symbiosis going around in the soils. Yeah.
Speaking of interesting soils, what about like those crystal caves? What about the crystal caves? Like, how does that even happen? Because I was thinking, like, the soil, it's like a part of the earth, right? But if you go like deep enough in some parts, you get like these formations where it's just like these air bubbles, essentially. It's just like caves, and then there's like just the right conditions for these like crystals to grow.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at like the chemistry of the earth, and you look at how, like, the composition of it, really everything is a crystal. As you have,
it's just a lattice structure, right? It's just about the structure of the atom.
They're lattice structures, and as they cool down from being inside the mantle to then being in the crust, they're cooling down and crystallizing. So I don't know about those crystal caves. I mean, they're very interesting. They look very cool. Also, if you look at like microscopic images, maybe through like electron microscopes and stuff like that, you'll see crystals on tinier scales too. Arrange themselves in very similar ways.